Hi everyone, welcome to the demo session on XSLT transform built-in action of Logic Apps Standard. In this session, we'll have a brief introduction on what is XSLT. We'll go through the XSLT transform architecture, different components involved, and how it is different from Logic App consumption. I have few demos created on simple XSLT and XSLT with inline C#, JavaScript or VB code, XSLT with an external assembly reference, or XSLT calling an inline XSLT which has assembly reference, and using the inline code with a global variable, and calling an XSLT with parameters, and XSLT 2.0 and 3.0. And finally, we'll go through some of the troubleshooting options available. XSLT, Extensible Style Sheet Language Transformation, is a language originally designed for transforming XML documents into other XML documents, though it can be used for transforming to other formats like HTML as well. The transformation is achieved by a set of template rules. A template rule associates a pattern. A pattern is a set of conditions on an item, which typically matches nodes in the source document with a sequence constructor. Sequence constructor is decide how the resulting XML structure looks like. So XSLT processing involves two steps. One is XSLT compilation. It compiles the style sheet and generates compiled code, and XSLT transform, which transforms the input XML using the above generated compiled code. And there are different versions of XSLT available, latest being 3.0, which has new features including streaming support, support for maps, arrays, and sequences. XSLT is a vast subject, and in this session, we'll not be going in depth on the structure and format of XSLT. Look at the XSLT architecture. In case of LA consumption, during design time, we upload the map, and this map gets compiled using a function app which is hosted on Microsoft environment. And during runtime, this compiled map is used to transform the input XML using another function app which is also hosted on Microsoft environment. In case of XSLT in LA standard, during design time, XSLT maps would be stored under artifacts section in the Logic app, or this can be stored in integration account as well. And the DLLs are stored in the assembly section in the Logic app. The function metadata registration would also happen during design time. And during runtime, the version of the XSL is identified from the root node using XSL parser. And then the NetFX worker performs XML transformation either by native .NET framework in case of 1.0 or Saxonica libraries in case of 2.0 and 3.0. Now let's have a look at the demo on how to create the XSLT action, upload different files. We'll also check out below common scenarios with examples. One more important point is to make sure that the below app setting Azure Web Jobs feature flag is configured with value enable multi-language worker. This is configured by default, but in case it is modified to different value, some of the XSLT features may not work. Yeah, this is my Logic App standard resource. Under artifact section, you will see maps section. So you can add a new map by clicking on add, and you can either choose XSL or XSLT file both. So I have one XSL. Let me choose this. And we have to provide a name to it. This is how you upload the map to the Logic app. And you can upload the assembly in under assembly section. Yeah. For the assemblies that are referred by Logic App XSLT, you have to choose custom assembly as the type, and you can either drag and drop or browse for files. And so choose, and you can click on upload files. So I already have this DLL available here. And if this assembly is greater than 4 MB of size, you cannot upload it through portal. You have to do it through Kudu console. So let's me take you to Kudu console. So here under www, this is where under the artifact section, you will have the maps available. So all the maps uploaded through portal, you can see here. You can upload new maps or edit or delete over here. And the assemblies would be under lib, custom, and net472. So here you can directly upload or delete or edit. Okay, so let's go back to Logic App now. So this is my Logic App. I have multiple maps added. So let me open any of these. So yeah, these are the feeds available. You have to provide the input content. You can either hard code it or pass it from any other actions. And you have to choose the map source. In my case, I have uploaded it in Logic App, right? So I'll choose Logic App as the source. Or you can choose integration account as well. So when you choose integration account, there is an app setting to provide the integration account's callback URL. You have to add that app setting and provide the callback URL. I'll show that in the app setting page. So once you choose integration account, again, yeah, it will show the maps available on the integration account as well. So in the same way, you can choose Logic App and choose the maps available here. Okay. And we have two other optional parameters. One is XML extension object, another is XSLT parameter. XSLT parameter, like if your XSLT is expecting any parameter, you can use this. So I'll show you in another example. And XML extension object, yeah, in case of bitstock, when you validate the map, there will be an extension object XML that gets created. So this XML will have the reference to the DLL that are referred in the XSL. So this will help us to load the particular um, DLL for this XSLT. So let me show any XSL file available. I think I don't have it here. I have it in this example. I'll show it. So if you see this one, so this is calling an external assembly. So in this external assembly, we have reference to this particular assembly. So this extension object XML will have the details of the assembly name, version, and the uh, security details as well. So all these details are available in this XML. So this whole XML you can copy from the validate output of the BizTalk and copy it here. Okay. So and coming to the XSLT with parameters. So this is one XSLT I have with the parameters. So it takes two parameters, first name and last name. So I'm providing the names here. Let me show the map in Visual Studio. This is the one with the external assembly. So if you see here, I have an assembly reference. My scripted assembly. So this is the assembly reference I have. So what is this namespace and what is the reference DLL where this namespace is implemented? Those details are present in the extension object file. Okay. So for XSLT with parameter, again, yeah. So here, these are the parameters it is taking as input. Okay. So going back to the browser. Yeah, coming to configuration. It's important, as I said earlier, to enable the multi-language worker configuration. Also, we have to provide the integration accounts callback URL in case you are using the maps from the integration account. This is the integration account callback URL app setting. This you need to add, and you have to provide the callback URL which you can find in the properties page of the integration account. Let me show one of the runs and we'll go through each of the transform actions I have used here. Yeah, this is the first transform XML. Here I'm using the simple XSLT. Let me show it in the Visual Studio. Yeah, this is my XSL. So it's a kind of doing a one-on-one mapping. So in the XSL, the first line here will have the namespace references, and it also importantly has the version uh, specified here. Okay. So in this case, yeah, this is kind of a one-on-one mapping here. So if you see in this one, so I'm passing the free, input content and the output is almost similar to this and it's being mapped to the different fields. Okay. In the second example, I'm taking inline scripts. So let me show how the inline script is defined here. So this is my XSLT. In this XSLT, I'm using three different kind of inline scripts. One is written in C#, one is written in VB, and one is written in JavaScript. So these are the scripts written. It's simply doing a concatenation with the return value. And this is the same for C#, VB, and JavaScript. Let's see, there are an input and output, and the input is same, and for in the output, if you see, yeah, let me put it in the Visual Studio. So you can see for each field, it is taking the value from different inline scripts which we have written, like C Sharp, VB, and JavaScript. So this is a very simple script I have written, and you can have the complex scripts also inside the XSL itself defined. Okay. Yeah, here also it is using the version 1.0. Okay. And then moving back to the next example. So in this case, I'm calling an external assembly. Okay, while calling an external assembly, we have to specify the extension object, which I explained earlier in the designer. So let me show the XSL how it looks like. Yeah, this is the external assembly call. So here, yeah, this is where my concat method is defined. So this is in the namespace script ns0. So if you look at the script ns0 definition, so this is coming from this particular schema. So that schema definition you can see in the external assembly file. Sorry, this is not the one in the extension.xml. So that gets generated when you um, create the when you validate the test map in the BizTalk. So this is the file. This defines this namespace and it provides the assembly reference to that. So this extension object has to be provided in the while defining the map in the designer. So with that, it is running this map and providing the output. Again, yeah, it is doing a concatenation of two fields in the assembly code. Okay. So this is about the transform XML3. And in case of transform XML4, here I'm having an inline XSLT calling an external assembly. Let me show how it is done. Yeah, this is the inline XSLT. So inside an XSLT, I'm calling another XSLT. This is through call template. And inside that XSLT, there is a reference to the uh, custom assembly, so which is performing the concatenation operation. Okay, so this is similar to the previous one. We have to add the extension object in this case as well. There is a failure here. Yeah, right now we don't have the exception message displayed in the portal. There is a work item on this and the dev team is working on it. We can get more details on this exception from the app insight or from the Kusto. I'll show how it is done from the apps insight later. Okay, and coming to the next one, in this case, I'm having a global variable that is being called inside the inline script. Let's see how that is done. Okay, let me open that code. The one with the global variable here. So here I have an inline script similar to the previous one, but in this case, it is using a global variable. Okay, so this global variable it can be used across the different scripts. Okay, so this we'll call again from the Logic app. And for this again, we don't need any extension objects because we are not using any external DLL. Instead, we are directly calling the inline script. So this is also performing the data. And here, if you can see, there's a concatenation done through from global variable inline. Okay, so this is about the global variable. And coming to the next one, in this case, I'm using the parameters. I showed earlier how we can define the parameters, right? So you have to give the parameter name and the value. Sometimes parameter name might have a namespace prefix also added. In that case, it would be something like input colon. So that can also be provided as it is here. And yeah, you have to define it like in a JSON format, okay, with a comma. So in this case, I'm passing first name and last name parameters. I'm mapping those to different fields called name and surname. So you can see name and surname populated over here. So I'll show how the XSLT is written. Let me find the param one. Yeah, here these are the parameters. The parameter values are passed here to the XSLT. Now for this failure, let's have a look at the app inside. What is the reason for the failure? Okay, so if you don't know whether app insight is enabled or what is the app insight map to your Logic app, you can go to app insights here. If it is not enabled as already, you can enable it as well, or you will get the link to the app insight. So I have the app insight enabled in this case, so it will have the link here where my app insight is residing. So this is the SHMV demo is my app insight link to this Logic app. So let me go to that one. So yeah, once you go there, you can directly go under failures or um, traces and then run the query. So this is the query I'm running, traces, where operation name is, this is my Logic app name, and this is the action name and the action invocation. You can even have the flow run IDs or different other IDs like flow IDs and all. Let's see what all IDs are available. Okay, so yeah, let me run this. So I'm giving the time range as last 30 minutes. So these are the things. So you can see action start and end. Yeah, if you go to action end, it will have more details on this. So you can go to the custom dimensions. So it has the error message here. So I have given a wrong parameters, like it is having mic and cat, which doesn't have two parameters. That's the reason it's throwing the error. And you can have the client tracking ID or correlation ID, any of these IDs added to the filter as well. Like you can just right click on these IDs and add them to the filter. This will give more details on the particular action. I have another Logic app with the XSLT 2.0 and 3.0 samples. In this first action, I'm using a 2.0 XSLT. Let's have a look at the XSLT file in the Visual Studio Code. Yeah, you can identify the version by this version field. And in this case, I'm using the XSL copy, which will copy the source XML as it is to the target XML. If you can see here, this is the input file I'm passing, and the generated output has the similar values in the XML. And I have XSLT 3.0 sample. Yeah, this is my XSLT 3.0 map. So you can identify that with the version here. And in this case, I'm using the function preceding siblings. This will apply the rule for all the preceding siblings of the particular node. There are various complex functions available through XSLT 3.2 and some through XSLT 2.0 as well. Those can be utilized in these XSLTs. So this is the run. You can see this is the input I'm passing, and the transformation is applied for all the siblings preceding to the selected one. Let's go through some of the troubleshooting options available for the XSLT action. As I showed earlier, we have app insights queries, which we can use for most of the troubleshooting. We do have kudu logs for the netfx worker function, which shows if there are any failures in the netfx worker. And we do have some of the Kusto queries, and we can even collect a kudu process dump or the process profiling in case we need to troubleshoot anything on the .NET assembly calls. And I have listed some of the common error messages as well. Let's have a look at each of these options in detail. Yeah, this is the app insight page I showed earlier. We can have a lot of customization on these queries, on requests and traces table both. And we can have multiple different filters to narrow down the issue. And going to the kudu, yeah, this is the path where you can find the logs for the netfx worker. So in this case, if you see, it will show the call for the netfx worker and the activity ID and the status of that call. And if you'd like to collect any process profiling, you can go to Process Explorer, and for the netfx worker function, you can start the profiling, and you can also collect the IIS event. Or through debug console, you can even run the proc dump as well in case you'd like to collect the dump. This is about the kudu. Let's have a look at some of the common errors and see how we can troubleshoot them. Yeah, this is the one where we are seeing that the located assembly's manifest definition does not match the assembly reference. So this usually happens if the version or the public key token of the assembly is not matching the one we provide in the extension object. So as I showed earlier, we provide the extension object here in the action definition, right? So here we would be providing the public key token. So the DLL which we upload should have the same public key token, only then it will be matching. So to make sure that it is same, while validating generating this extension object from BizTalk map, make sure to build the project once in BizTalk so that it will have the latest DLL, and you can use the latest DLL and the run the validation again at the BizTalk, so that will generate the extension object which will have reference to the latest DLL generated. Okay. And yeah, this is another error you would see if the assembly is missing. Yeah, we would usually add the assembly which is directly referred in the extension object, right? But in that particular assembly might have a dependency on other assemblies as well. If those assemblies are missing, then it might throw this error. So make sure that the error throwing at the assembly mentioned in the error is present in the assemblies folder. You can verify both from the kudu or and from the portal, and make sure to upload all the dependent assemblies before uploading the map. Okay. And coming to the other error, yeah, it's saying that it cannot find a script or an extension object associated with namespace. This usually happens if the extension object doesn't have the reference for the specified namespace. For example, in this case, it is having reference for this namespace. So this namespace is used in my XSLT, right? In this case, I'm using this namespace. So if the namespace value is not matching, that might also cause issues. So make sure that whatever you are using in the XSLT, for that namespace, we have the extension object here. Sorry. And the next error is compiling JScript or C# script is not supported. This usually happens if the multi-language support is not enabled on the app setting. So ideally by default it would be enabled. If there are any changes done to this, then you might come across these kind of errors. So you make sure that there is an app setting present here and it has the value as enabled multi-language worker. And there could be some other errors that could be specific to the particular input file that is used. That error would be detailed enough to understand and troubleshoot it further. This is all I have for the demo today, and thank you for watching.